Now, before we get into this week's Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's discussion, reaction, weird overanalyzing of shonen toy commercials, because I have no life of my own thingamabobber I do every week, I have a very special announcement to make to you all. And that is, regionals are back, baby! Konami just posted the list, like, no joke, I don't even think half an hour ago. I was just scrolling through Twitter while the end credits of Sevens were going on, because I really don't like looking at that comedian guy's junk. But then I just saw it, and I was all like, it's probably nothing. It's probably just an update on online regionals, whatever. But no, I clicked on it just because I was curious, and it was like, holy shit, in-person events are back! Yes! Now, granted, everything could go horribly wrong again. That is unfortunately the reality of the world we're living in. But sooner or later, we have to start choosing to think positively about things. And I'm going to think positively about this. Because obviously, even if we can't have YCSs, one regional is not going to go that bad. I hope. Maybe. Potentially. But who cares? We got them back. So you know what that means. If you feel comfortable going to one, and if you don't, that is totally understandable. But if you feel comfortable going out to a regional again, go and show your support for getting to go outside again. Go and be respectful and listen to their rules and regulations, because obviously we're all still trying to figure out how to get back what we had while still managing with the way the world is. So be mindful and curious of that when you go to these events. That's all I ask. And just go and have fun, because the Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional experience is something that you can't replicate online. There's something about getting up at like 5 in the morning to drive 2 hours so you can be on time, only for them to keep registration open for way longer than they should anyways, filling out a deck list that you're going to still second guess even after you hand it in, getting bad cards in your entry packs, and then going 0-2, dropping and going home and wondering what you're doing with your life. That is the power of regionals. And it's here. Can you all tell? I've been cooked up inside for too damn long. So, yeah. Let us move on now to this week's Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's discussion. And I will say this about these two episodes before we get into any over-analysis. I will say these might be the two gayest episodes in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. And when I say gay, I don't mean that derogatorily. I mean, like, literally, like, when you really listen to what they're saying in this episode, like, essentially Yuga's entire, like, reasoning for why Roa still remembers everything and is fine is because his bond with Roa goes so far back and is so strong, it transcends evil magic, and their desire to go up against each other is what brings them back to each other. And also the idea that Roa is doing everything he can to push the one girl in his life away, despite being his cousin, is, it's a little sus, if I say so myself. But yeah, no, getting into it, though, I really like this. They did a lot of good shit this week, and that is what we are here to talk about today. So first up, let's start off right at the beginning. The gang is almost all back together. They go to a Roa Roman concert fan thing to get Roa and Roman their memories back. They then get there, run into the two friends, and there's this very interesting thing that is brought up almost immediately, and that is the one friend who is actually, by all accounts, gay and likes Roa, is all like, maybe he's better off not remembering. Like, now he can focus on the music and that, and maybe it's better. And it brings up this interesting theme throughout the two episodes and what I assume will be carried over into next week. And that is that idea of just like, is it okay to maybe do something that is kind of wrong, or to have access to information or power that is kind of wrong, if it will help the person in the long run? Because technically, by not restoring Roa's memories, they are in fact manipulating him. They have essentially altered who he is and altered the direction his life is going in. But is it okay if it's for the right reasons. And that's kind of interesting, and we'll get on as the episodes go. But I like that that was put right up there in front center and was done in a way that felt very natural and organic. But then after that, everyone's favorite character, Simpbot 5000, was all like, "Where is my girl? Where's my waifu? Where's that girl I uncomfortably stalk? Where is she, damn it?" And they're all like, "Well, we haven't seen her in like a week or whatever. She hasn't shown up for practice, blah, blah, blah." So then Gakudo sends the other two, because now that they've had their use, they don't need to be here anymore, to go figure out where Roman is. And so then we proceed to go on. The guy where I think it's so weird, the joke is no one remembers him, but the way they do it is so effective, I actually think it works, is all like, "Something's up with Roa, you gotta do something about it." And so then that brings in the other idea of it, which is, no, you have to help people and allow people to have their freedom and control over their lives at all costs. So yeah, that is then our ideological conflict being set up. Isn't it great? There's an ideological conflict again in Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, so they go on to Roa, where we see him just like being Roa, being obnoxious, being an asshole, being all flirty. I love the way in this episode, he just leans right into there like, "I only want my princesses around." He's such a fucking smug asshole. I love him. But yeah, no, and so then naturally, this ends up turning into the direction of, well, let's have a rush duel. He's like, no, but then his fangirl squad shows up, including Mimi, who, remember, is 37 years old. I still love it, though. The bit where she's all, like, reading to Yuo, I think is his name, and, like, she's still trying to help with that. I like that that idea carried over. Also, something I want to point out, at the beginning where we had two more people making their own duel formats, one of them said that his is a near-future duel, but if all Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes are set in the future, aren't they all technically near-future duels? Anywho, I have no answer for that. But yeah, no, so then on her old 1980s big carrying phone, because fuck it, we're 80-something episodes in at this point, she realizes she has to get to the Roa Roman fan concert. Remember, she is a 37-year-old simping for an 11-year-old boy. That is Yu-Gi-Oh! Now. So, then she gets down to the concert, where naturally it turns into a big duel between Yuga versus Roa. And while I say I didn't like this one as much as their first duel, and while I think my favorite duel in the show thus far was Yuga and Nail's second duel, just because it was such a unique take for a duel that I just loved that one, I will say this: there is always just something cathartically entertaining about watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivals go at it in a way that, for me at least, no other pair of, like, anime rivals feels. Like Naruto versus Sasuke, as far as I'm concerned, has no shit on Yugi versus Kaiba, or Yusei versus Jack, or Yuma versus Ryoga. Like, there's just something about the way it's done. Just these two, as the internet has pointed out, very handsome men in front of each other. They're obsessed with each other. They think about each other a lot. And it's finally time for them to come face to face. No, stop it! Yaoi shipping, stop influencing me! But yeah, no, so the duel is just fucking fun. And what I like is there's kind of this unique intensity just to the way everything looks and how it moves and how it sounds. Roa hasn't been used as a rival as much as the others, as this is only their second duel. I hope they work in a third, knock on wood. It's only their second duel, but the way they use just visual language and the music to set it apart from all other duels in the show, I think really gives this rivalry a nice, strong feeling to it. And so then we get on to what is essentially our big kind of thing of the episode. Well, there's two. The first is that the Go has siblings and Yuo. So the big thing going on is that there's so many duel formats being creative, it's going to overload the moon base thing, and it's going to destroy the entire dueling network. Again, you have physical cards. Just use your physical cards, you stupid kids. Get off your damn iPhones. But yeah, no, so the kids, so that will collapse the entire duel world. And it's interesting that that's not part of Evil Yuga's plan. So it makes me wonder, how will that be worked in with him going forward? But yeah, no, so we find out that Otis's thing was he was the one keeping the system and everything under control, but now that he's been rendered useless, he can't do that. So that's pretty interesting. And now the Goha siblings are going to figure out what's going on. And I like that Yuo is doing it by instinct. We've established that the memory erasing doesn't necessarily erase like certain parts of your personality, just kind of like makes you unable to access memories. So things that he does by instinct or things that he just deduces will still happen, like what we saw with Gakudo and presumably Nail and Asuna last week. So yeah, so that's going on. Meanwhile, the other big thing, I really appreciate what they did with Roa. I wasn't expecting it. And in reality, could you have maybe done it better had you brought this up more often? But it turns out Roa did not lose his memories, as we established, because Yaoi. And we find out that... Also, someone's going to be like, oh, well, it actually makes sense. I know. It makes enough sense for what Yugioh needs. It's just funnier to think it's the other thing. But yeah, so... We find out that Yuga and we find out that Roa did not lose his memories, but he's choosing to do it so that way he can kind of like have a fresh start. So that way he can kind of reinvent himself and redefine himself and follow his music passion. Which is interesting because that is someone like taking advantage of a situation in a way I didn't expect. I thought it would just be the straightforward Yuga would jog his memories next plot point. So that's a little bit fun and different. But we also find out that the reason Roa wants to distance himself from Roman and part of the reason he doesn't want a duel is that he's afraid that if Roman's memories come back, everything will go back to the way they were and she'll be stuck in the middle of all this insanity and dueling and won't be able to focus on her own music. And what's interesting, he's not doing this for his own benefit. He's doing this because he wants to help her. He's doing this because he has genuinely started to feel bad for how he treated her and manipulated her. And this is his way of making amends. For those of you who don't remember, when Roa was first revealed at the beginning of the show, he had this amazing commanding and presence, partly due to the fact that he slammed Roman against a window and threatened her. And then it was never brought back up, and I kind of got annoyed, because then we didn't even focus on the concept of him manipulating her anymore. But this kind of brought it all back, and we find out it did bother him. He did kind of eventually start to realize, I haven't been a good person, and I want to kind of change things. But, and this is where I think it gets interesting to think about, is the way he wants to change things right? This is what we kind of got to ask ourselves. Because on the one hand, you might think, yes, he's doing the right thing. He thinks this is what's best for her. Even if he's wrong, he's doing it for the right reasons. But does it change the fact that he is still technically manipulating her? I loved the way they brought it all back together for this aspect of the episode, and I like Kaizo's perspective on it too. He's like, it doesn't change what you've done, and it doesn't change what you're still doing. And I think that's really interesting. And I kind of wish Kaizo got more scenes if he was going to bring up an interesting point like that. And I kind of like the conclusion they sort of come to at the end, and that is there maybe isn't quite a right answer. Like, Roman is a part of Roa's life, and like just kind of like saying goodbye and kicking it away isn't right either. And I really appreciate that. I think it's done in a really interesting, mature, complex way. And I think it really does bring it full circle. Again, like I said, could they have done it better if this was more of a plot point throughout? Yes. But in a world where you're running out of episodes and you need to bring it all together, I think they did the best they could with what they had. And for me, it works out just fine. But yeah, no, so then the episode ends with Roa winning. And narratively, yeah, it makes sense, but I want to see the protagonist beat their rival. Damn it. I love Roa, but he can be so obnoxious that a part of me is like, I just want to see Yuga kick his ass. So who knows? Will they get another duel? I want it. But there's a few more duels I hope they get to in the show, and I don't know if we have the time. But yeah, no, that was Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s for this week, because I watched these two back-to-back, and fuck it. I really dig this. I really enjoy it. I love these two characters. I love seeing them go up against each other. And I love the way they are bringing in the storyline being talked about here. It's really good. It's really clever. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. But tell me what you think about this in the comments section below. And now for the TCG question of the week. Since we brought up regional coming back, there is only one question to ask. What deck do you want to bring? Because this is a fair question. Do you want to jump right back into competitive and build your nearest? I'd recommend Virtual World because the core is cheap. You need a lot of money for Sword Soul. Are you going to build a competitive deck, or do you want to just have fun and like get back into things from an entertaining perspective and build your casual decks? This will be a very interesting regional season because you'll probably see a lot more people coming out thanks to the Master Duel hype. In which case, don't get mad when your opponent does Forbidden Droplets the wrong way. But yeah, no, tell me about that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week for more just Roman... I was going to do a Yaoi joke, but I forgot it. Anyways, bye.